Good morning, peoples. Let's jump in here for Coney and Coin. All right, so we had earnings on Coin. Coin beat pretty nicely, and it had sold off during the day a lot, right? Sorry, this is acting up here when I drag this number down. Let me fix these. I had to, you have to put two columns in when you have multiple transactions. And when I drag the number down, it's kind of doing its own thing lately. All right, let's take a look at what transpired. Let me give you the update just on how the price changed, talk some more about earnings, what I expect out of that, and take you through the day. Okay, so coin was down for the day 212.64, right? So that was 5.22%. We were down 5.2%. So we weren't in a capped situation, but there was a lot of interesting things going on with knowing that earnings were going to come out after hours. And then I believe the earning conference call is this morning. That's the normal protocol. So I saw in after hours that in fact coin was up. If you look at a chart, you see the movement down on coin, but and then I didn't look at all of the movement in after hours on the chart, but I just simply looked at the pricing and it was up a certain percentage, right? Actually, I need to kind of fix that. Let me go in here and start up there's I'll drag this over here and get it on another screen so I can quote you guys some accurate data. But while I'm waiting on that, um, let me walk you through some of the trades that took place, and then I'll come back to um, just what happened and what I think is going to happen. So it's kind of positive. Um, so here's a mass of trades, okay? Um, and I can explain it to you because that's literally what it's going to take. So we've been operating in a 250 synthetic. Okay. So we have around 32,000, 31,000 contracts in the 250. We're losing because we're all the way down to 212 in the close of the day. So let me get logged in at the same time to my Thinkorswim so that I can accurately tell you what happened in that after hours sequence. I know where it ended up closing the after hours, but I just as soon look at it while we're talking. Because I think it's helpful that you understand it a little bit better. All right, so let me get this to charts and get it on coin. Yeah, so as it went down, it closed, like we said, at the 212 price. And then it looks to be right now with many hours before the market's gonna open. We're looking at around 215 something. So it had been as high in after hours of 223. So all that means is it hasn't settled yet, right? But they beat and they beat fairly substantially. But in this kind of market, the guidance and the conference call at whatever time that is this morning is going to easily, they're around 8 Eastern. They're usually after the market opens, sometimes 7 Eastern. It just depends. Um, could be 9 Eastern. they will talk about guidance, and then that also creates the volatility. So this one will be interesting. I certainly believe it's going to open up. The question is, where do we end up at the end of the day? Are we back in the 220s, which I hope we are, because that'll make some money for us. All right. So having said that, I can go back to what all I wanted to explain you. It doesn't do a lot of good for me to take you through every single trade here, but I'm going to give you the scenario by showing you. I'll leave these till last. I had to have multiple entries. Let's go take the 250 scenario. So, as we had been doing for a while, this thing was going to expire on 8/16. So, as we moved down in price, and you can see it here, right? Once we were, because we had been 257, 245, we're all around that synthetic strike price. And then we started going to 230, 224, 224, and now 212, right? With a couple of entries. So we're far below that. So they did the right thing. They basically took the pain, right? They said we're gonna close out half of the contracts. And then identically, they took half of the weekly calls off the table. And we'll get into that in a minute. So on the 250, that's an ugly loss, right? So we go in, we were 6 million positive, which we won a negative here. So we weren't even winning these and the 250 when we had been writing them. Um, we did, yeah. So we were like spending 68 million for the call, collecting 61 for the put, buying the other call for 1,700,000, selling the put for 2.9. So this last scenario on 729, we made money. But obviously, when you're way under, so they came in here and bought the calls, sorry, sold the calls, right? So now you're doing an inverse. You're getting out of these. And you can see that we had 30,800 and added 1350. So we came in and took 16,000 away, and that cost us 60 million, just under a hair. So we had a 6.1 million loss. We now have 66 million, right? The difference between 64.8 and 49.60 added to this guy. So it's ugly. But hey, there was a 79 million paper loss hanging out there. Well, we still have a portion of this. I don't even know. So we still have a $59 million loss on these. But again, that can be made up with movement. So we didn't roll all of them, we rolled half of them. And when we rolled, we went out to a 920 expiration. Okay. So the scenario looks like this. We then wrote 16. Now we're closer because we're slightly above the 210 price, right? We were 212 wherever we were in the day when we wrote these. But now we may be much more in the positive. Okay, and these numbers aren't correct. I didn't put the right numbers in here. We actually have a $4 to $6 million gain here. So ignore that for the moment because I just copy a whole nother, synthetic price and then change for what happened here. So you can see that we bought 38 million, sold 32 million. So we had a 6 million loss. And then we put on an additional 750 in this 210. So we're setting on a 6.1 million. Just ignore this number for the moment. Okay. But this is really what happened, right? So we took a hit on this on the other one and kind of on this one, but what this does is this sets us up to win, right? We're already above 210. We're out till 920. So if this thing goes 250, 260, we all the way up we're making money. We just don't want to get capped on our weekly. And then if we move up before 816, we may get to a point where we're break even on those remaining 16,000 that are still out there at the 250. All right. So let's go talk about today's trades down here. So besides doing the synthetic for 750, they also then put a trade on, and you can see it here, right on the 750s. You see they bought a 210 call on the synthetic. They sold short a 210, and then they went and put a 230 um, short call, weekly call on the 230 out till 8/9, right? So I color code these different. So what we also did, and that's the second trade, I won't pull the sheet back, but we closed out this 15,800 and we bought it back for 10 cents. Good trade, right? I mean, even though we're way, way under, but you took it off early, you got the money. So no problem with any of that. We netted 7 million and could have netted, 7,050,000. So it cost us 150,000. Not a big deal on that. What did we do? We went to 8/9 and we wrote out at 230, 250. So a little bit above what we did with the 750. The only problem is we could be there pretty soon. I mean, we could end up on the Friday close in the 220s. We certainly will probably open 215, 216. It could run into the 220s, pull back. We'll see what Friday brings coin. But there'll be a lot of continued movement because people are trying to say, well, they really beat, but maybe guidance. And what I really liked about the beat language was that the institutional money was in there. Institutions are buying into coin. So I feel pretty positive, already bullish on BTC. I realize that's not the only play. These guys do crypto of all kinds. They're an exchange, right? So and we've took this running total to where now we have a positive number. We're not positive for the month because we've got other scenarios, right, that are going on. We did a lot of this where we were getting killed up here. I mean, we got killed on some of these when we ran by on our weeklies. That's why we had a scenario earlier this month where it was like was 39 million and then all of a sudden we went to a 7 million gain. So there were just some ugliness that happened in the month. Trying to find some of those. Yeah, look at this one. So back on 7/12, we had sold something for 279 and we bought it for 24.98. We sold some, and that's huge amount of contract, right? So the loss was 64 million. So you see why when you get run by massively like that. And sometimes it's unavoidable. The only ones that I complain about is when you got a day left and you got 80% on that Thursday and these things are volatile, just take it off the table. Well, they took it off the table for 10 cents here, a 270, and we're down at 212. So I'm happy. So, I mean, they could have taken the other off as well, but that's all right. They're not much danger of running by the 270. I'll say that for them. So no issue there, knowing that they'll roll out of that. No issues with the fund manager on this one. Okay, so let's try to make heads or tails out of all of that collectively. So let's go to the weeklies, right? We got out of 15.8 in that week and then we rolled into a 232. Well, that's 934, but we could close in the 220s. That's okay. It's 5% out of the money. I can't know where we're going. And again, we're going to make a lot on that synthetic because we're long on the 210 and we still have a bunch at the 250. I want to see it at 230 or 240, but it doesn't have to go there all next week. We have one more week for that 250 strike until 816. So these guys, these are golden. We're going to win these. It's not going to go to 260 or 270. And then this is another next week, small quantity, only 8% out of the money. So I think coin is at a buying spot 17 when you look at the historical chart. Every time it's gone, I think it went, yeah, I'm showing 1763. Well, here's a new low, right? I think intraday it's been in the high 16s, but it hadn't closed. Um, okay, guys. So again, we're still behaving in this chart because we only went down to 212. So we still have the semblance of a head and shoulder that could take a couple more weeks. And so it just looks like this. This thing just treads here and then jumps up to complete the big cup and handle, right? Where all of this is sort of the low. And then we could trend sideways in that and run on up to 450 or some number, because this thing measures from 50 to 350, assuming we have to get to 350. But that's exactly what this inverse head and shoulders projects up to, is 350. If it doesn't come down and break 200, then that would be a double bottom. That's a different pattern than just a head and shoulder. So I mean, again, I'm always trying to look to see how the charting shows me a bullish outcome. And there's clearly one there, but it has to operate that way, right? It can't violate 200, and it shouldn't even get there again. It should stay where it is. And maybe the 212 ends up being the low for this period of time and we slowly move up. Would love that. Okay, so let's go out to holdings where I've dialed this in a little deeper for us. So we now have pairs of synthetics, right? We went out and we kept half of what we had. And then we rolled the 16,000 here and the 750 into this 210. So we have a 6.6 million gain. This guy has a 59 loss. So I updated the chart, but in fairness, these were all just on one, right? They were all on a 250. Well, now we still have a 250, but it's got I called it a net 52. What I did was I said, okay, we got a 59 loss remaining, but we got a 6.6 gain. So I'm just going to show the 250 for a while at what it is, which is a net 52. So while this came down, it really didn't come down in the sense that we just absorbed the loss. We took it, right? So it's not showing on the paper because we realized half of the loss. So that says it's as bad. It would have been like $104 million loss, something like that, if we'd have just left it there. So it's pretty ugly coming down another $12. That's why I'm pretty optimistic about this bounce. Okay, so where are we now on our weeklies? Okay, so these need to be coded as, oh, I thought, yeah, the 270 is still valid. The 232 is still valid. I, the two, oh, I know what it is. Both of these are the 8 9s. And normally I just color code these different, just so you can see them over here. Now I went ahead and I think I'm adding all the columns. Yeah, I could just do the 21 and have it work on this week's totals. That might be better. I want to see what we're going to win this week. Yeah. So we've got 6 9 at stake, and we could buy everything back for 258. We're already at 96.27. So we'll win all that. As I showed when I looked here, right? This summarizes it. We're going to win these easy. All right, guys. So that's what I got. I know what you want to see. It's still ugly, but let's take a look at it. It's just more complicated. So we took more of a hit here. This we reduced. This was up, 34 or something like that. So we're bringing short call down, but we're increasing over here. And the problem is our share count. Look on the holding. We added 425,000 shares. You see that over here for July. right? We went from 39.7 to 40,125,000. So we added 425 share, and that's partially why they did the extra 750. Otherwise, they were just rolling out of the 250 into the 210. Okay. So we closed at 1749. You won't be able to buy it at that price because it should move up based on coin already being a little higher, but I think it's a terrific buy here if it plays out. I've kept a certain percentage, but I'm three times in Misty what I am in Coney, and I used to be close to even in them. And once probably 2 months ago now, I sold Coney a portion, 2/3 of Coney, and moved it into Misty. So I have a lot more Misty, and now I think I'm about to add some Coney. Um, so we'll see what I do when it opens. I might just buy coin itself and write some of my own calls on it. I like it when I'm in control sometimes. I'll have to decide, income versus, I don't really need the income at this point. Um, all right, so on payments, how do we get here? Well, not easily. Okay, so synthetic, we took loss on half and rolled to a lower 210 strike. Well, I can tell you, if we start moving up on that 210, we're going to start making money. Let me get you the actual numbers here and give you a scenario. Okay, so on that 210, this now is worth 24.4. Okay, and this guy is minus 20.43. So remember the 6.6? So now this is dialed in. So we're at, as we move up from 212, then all of a sudden, so many numbers, these start really changing. And we could easily get this up to 30, 40, 50, 60 million by just moving closer, up, which we want on our 250. That would start reducing that 59 million and start improving this guy. And the problem is we want to be paid. So I think they're going to come out and they're going to look at this and they're going to want us to get to that 100% return. I don't know that they'll pay the 148. Remember, that was assuming 20. But if you bought it at like 1978, they only need to give us $1.26. They haven't paid less than $1 their entire 10 or 11 months of payments. I always forget exactly how many they've had. So this is either going to be the 11th payment or the 12th payment. But my point is, I think we get $1. I think they find a way to give us $1, but I don't know that we'll get any more than $1. Maybe they don't want to break. They don't want to break paying $1. And knowing that I think before declaration, we've got two more. Well, actually, it's going to be Tuesday morning, the 6th. They've got today. If we get a 220 close and they do something else, they could always come in and roll out of that 210 and take the profit. It's not going to be enough to generate money. So this will be a big decision. I'll figure out something this weekend and I'll tell you guys what I think we're going to get paid. Okay, guys, that's long enough and it's complicated. Um, go coin, go Coney on Friday. Okay, guys, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, for fun and entertainment. Bye for now.